Hello dear kids, welcome back to the social science class. Do you know, during the period between the 8th and 18th centuries, important political, social and economic developments took place. The coming of the Turks to India replaced the old ruling class. We also witnessed the emergence of new social groups during this period. In today's chapter, social change in the medieval period, we will discuss about the great social changes and about the tribes that existed during the medieval period and their livelihood. Okay? So, let us have a look into the mind map, social change in the medieval period. Mainly we are going to discuss about the tribal society, peasantization of tribes, nomads and itinerant groups, then tribal livelihood and the political significance of the tribes. So, let us learn the first one, the tribal society. We all are familiar with the tribes, right? A tribe is a group united by a common name and a common ancestor. In medieval India, many tribal societies existed that did not follow the rigid Varna system and believed in social equality. They followed their own unique languages, then traditions, culture and religion. And members of each tribe are united by kinship bonds, blood relations, and the tribes believed in social equality. And they usually lived in forest, then hills, deserts and in places which were difficult to reach. And we have little knowledge about the origin and subsequent history of the numerous tribes of India in the absence of sufficient archaeological data. And the tribes then preserved rich customs and oral traditions. They were passed on from one generation to the next. Then of late, historians have started using such oral traditions to write tribal histories. Okay? So, let us see peasantization of tribes. During the early time of medieval, agriculture expanded and more forest land was brought under cultivation. This resulted in the assimilation of many of the tribal communities in the social fold and led to the peasantization. Okay? This resulted in the assimilation of many of the tribal communities in the social fold and led to the peasantization of these tribes living in the forest areas, and this became part of settled communities. The whole process not only influenced by the tribes, but the tribal culture and customs also got assimilated and absorbed in the mainstream social setup. The origin of worship of Lord Jagannath could be traced to the early medieval tribal culture. Rath Yatra festival is celebrated every year in Puri to worship Lord Jagannath. And the origin of these Rajputs during the early medieval period is also traced to the emergence of various tribal groups. They belong to different lineages such as Hunas, Chandelas and Chalukyas, and become very popular by the 11th and 12th centuries. They gradually replaced the older rulers, especially in agricultural areas, and came to be regarded as Rajputras or sons of kings. Okay. Now we are moving to the next, nomads and itinerant groups. Nomads and itinerant groups. Nomads are wandering pastoralists who roam from one pasture to another with their families and herd of cattle. Similarly, itinerant groups such as the artisans, craftsmen, traditional storytellers and entertainers travel from one place to another practicing their different occupations. Both nomads and itinerant groups often visit the same places every year. These are known as mobile communities. Okay, remember about mobile communities. And let us see the political significance of the tribes. Despite these episodes of assimilation in the early medieval period, most of these tribes and itinerant groups were able to secure and shield their position not only culturally but politically and economically as well. This was largely because of their location in the frontier regions and also because they control the key trade routes and forest resources. Then none of the medieval rulers could afford to take them lightly because they had a powerful tribal militia. Let us have a look into some tribe groups during the medieval period. Look at this picture, the Colis. The Colis and numerous other tribes inhabited the Maharashtra, Highlands and Karnataka. Colis also lived in many areas of Gujarat. The next is the Bills. The Bills were one of the most widely spread communities across western and central India. And the next is the Gonds. The Gonds were located across the present day states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. Next is the Chero. The Chero tribes was very influential in many areas of present day Jharkhand. Raja Man Singh, Akbar's famous general, attacked and defeated the Cheros in 1591. Then the next is the Mundas and the Sandals. They were the other important tribes that lived in Odisha, Jharkhand and Bengal. And let us learn about the tribal livelihood, how they lived. Many tribes obtained their livelihood from agriculture and others were hunter-gatherers or herders. Most often they combined these activities to make full use of the natural resources of the area where they lived. And some tribes were nomadic and moved from one place to another. And similarly, the nomadic pastoralists moved from one place to another with their animals. They exchanged wool, ghee, then milk, etc. with settled agriculturalists for grain, cloth, utensils and other products, just like a barter system. They bought and sold these goods as they moved from one place to another, transporting them on the animals. One such type of nomadic group was that of Banjaras. They were most important trade nomads during the medieval period. Okay, let's have a recap of the chapter. This period from 8th to the 18th century underwent great social changes. Then there existed a caste based distinction among the Hindus and the political hierarchy amongst the Muslim rulers. Then many of the tribes emerged as politically powerful, though their areas of influence and activities varied. These include the Gonds, Ahoms, Bees, Colis, etc. So, take care of you and all the best. Bye bye.